Hello everyone and welcome back to another average review. Now the last time on this channel we took a look at the Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut. But now we're taking a look at another figure of a deluxe supersized X-Men villain that I got for Christmas, this being the Blob. Now unfortunately this is a windowless packaging, so we can't see if anyone swapped the figure or there's some quality control issues inside, but we do get a pretty neat render of the Blob figure along with some comic art in the background. On the side, we can see another, render of the Blob, and on the other side, we can see some cool-looking classic comic art. On the back, we see the measurements of this figure, another digital render, and the accessories he comes with. So, yeah, unfortunately, this figure was in the windowless packaging era. But hey, let's open the box and see how this Blob is inside, because, yeah, this figure is pretty dang rare nowadays. Alright, getting this Blob out of the packaging, and it's a pretty dang good sculpt of a classic, version of the Blob. It's very different from the old Hasbro Blob Build-A-Fig, which kind of looked horrifying. But, yeah, this looks pretty decent. I mean, the head, it's a fairly simple, overweight man head sculpt, but it's done very well. They got his hair done pretty right, Not much to say about this figure for the most part, actually. It's a pretty basic sculpt, but it's done pretty well. It's hard to notice on camera, but I think he actually has, little spots on his arms, which is a pretty nice attention to detail. Moving down to the cuffs and also the yellow parts of the actual, bodysuit pieces, they actually have a bit of a knitted look to them, which is pretty nice. It adds some neat texture. Moving down, you can see the same as the boots, and you can see, a lot of the sort of wrinkles on the legs, which, yeah, there is a fair bit of attention to detail with this sculpt. So, yeah, not really much to say about this figure in terms of sculpting and paintwork, other than it's simple, but it's done very well. But the real question is, how good is the articulation on this Blob? Now, I will tell you, to set your expectations back a little, since this is a very different, body type to a usual Marvel Legends, obviously. But hey, let's see how good this guy can pose anyways. Now, he does have, I assume, a ball joint at, at the neck, which actually lets him look up a fair bit. Doesn't get to look down much. Can't really turn his head all the way around, but he does get a fair bit of tilt side to side. His shoulders can spin all the way around and actually lift up about 90 degrees. He unfortunately doesn't have bicep swivel, but his elbows can spin around, so that's not much of an issue. They can also hinge and actually get about 90 degrees, which is pretty good. He's also got Marvel Legends style wrists that can spin around and hinge up and down, albeit with some resistance, and I'm not expecting much from the torso articulation, let's be honest here, but he does have a diaphragm joint. He gets actually a little bit of hunch forward, but obviously not much. Unfortunately, not really any arch back, but he gets a bit of tilt side to side and actually spinning all the way around. Now, moving below his bright yellow belt, he does have Marvel Legends style ball jointed hips, which actually kick 90 degrees, which is pretty good to see. He also gets a fairly decent split. That's not too bad. He's, of course, got thigh cut, which lets you spin his legs all the way around, along with single jointed knees that can hinge a little less than 90 degrees and also swivel side to side. And he's got Marvel Legends style ankles that can hinge forwards, backwards, and pivot side to side. So overall, Juggernaut doesn't actually have that bad of articulation. It's pretty comparable to other figures like Juggernaut or some of their Hulks, which is pretty impressive for a, pudgy figure like the Blob. It's pretty dang impressive. But moving on to the figure comparisons, we of course have to start off with the standard male and female comparisons. Renew Your Vows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. And yeah, this Blob is a pretty dang big figure compared to standard Marvel Legends, which makes sense. He's a deluxe release. Moving on to the X-Men though, and we of course have to start off with Wolverine, specifically in his Tiger Stripe outfit from X-Men 97 and the Marvel vs. Capcom games.
Did you just call me Blob? No, I said Bob. Ah!
For some earlier members of the X-Men, though, we have X-Factor versions of Cyclops and the still work-in-progress Jean Grey with the boots repainted. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm recording nearly every Christmas video on the exact same day. For some more members of the X-Men, though, we have X-Men 97 versions of Gambit and Rogue, X-Men 97 Nightcrawler, and the new retro-carded Black Suit Storm. For some larger members of the X-Men, we have Beast and Colossus. And of course, Professor X and Magneto, whose messy breakup pretty much caused most of the things related to the X-Men to happen. For another massive X-Men villain, though, we have the Gamerverse Juggernaut, which was the figure I reviewed recently, and man, this Juggernaut is so massive, it makes the Blob look puny by comparison, which is pretty impressive. But as is tradition, here's the Marvel Legends Deluxe Blob with Hitmonkey and Goliath. Alright, now that we're done with the figure comparisons, let's see what kind of accessories the Blob comes with. Spoilers, it's not very much. In terms of alternate hands, he comes with a pair of fists. But he does come with an alternate pair of open hands. Just like the Juggernaut, it's actually sort of a gripping hand and a much more wide open hand. I wonder why the Marvel Legends team nearly always goes for mismatched open hands with a deluxe figure like this. It's not the worst thing ever, I'm just kind of confused why they do it. In terms of alternate heads, Blob comes with this more neutral but still pretty angry looking head. Along with this alternate yelling head. Something I noticed is that the hair on the yelling head is actually a bit different from the hair on the, more neutral head, which I think is a bit interesting. I'd also like to say, probably a hot take, but this is one of the best looking, yelling Marvel Legends heads I've seen, at least in terms of more modern ones. I'm mainly thinking of that really bad, yelling head from the Gamerverse Captain America where his mouth is just way too wide. Yeah, this is a pretty dang good yelling head. But the important question is what price does this Blob go for? Now, this figure retailed for $55, and I do think this is a good figure, but I feel like with the few amount of accessories it comes with, that's a bit much. And actually, it's still on Amazon for $55, which was not the case for a long time, because this figure, for the past few years, has been very expensive on the aftermarket. Cheapest I've seen it for on eBay earlier, before I assume they reissued it, because, that's what it seems like, was around, $70. But, yeah, you can find it for around retail price on Amazon right now. So, hey, if you want a figure of the Blob, this is probably the best time to go for it. At least if it's still up for that price on Amazon. Alright, now what are my final thoughts on this Blob? Well, I'm actually really happy with this figure. I think the sculpting and paintwork is very basic, but, it's very good. There's not really much you can do with the Blob unless you want to make it like that really, weird and scary looking old Hasbro Build-A-Figure, which part of me actually kind of wants to compare with this version of the Blob. But yeah, the paintwork and sculpting is done pretty well. I'm also surprised by how decent the articulation is for a super, well, different figure like the Blob. He's honestly very poseable. You know, for a character that's not, you know, super jacked and ripped like all the other, well, most of the other Marvel Legends figures are. I like how he looks with other classic X-Men characters, especially some of the villains, although I do need more characters like Mystique to build out the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The one thing I'm not too jazzed about is the pricing. Along with the lack of accessories, I mean, the accessories he does come with are really good. I especially like the Yelling Head sculpt, but for $55, I don't know. I feel like he should have come with more, but I can't really think of anything else he could have come with. You know what I mean? Either way, I do think this is a very good figure of the Blob, and probably the most definitive, you know, action figure of the character. So overall, I'm going to give the Marvel Legends Deluxe Blob a 9 out of 10. Just like the Juggernaut, this was a Christmas present, and yeah, I'm really happy with both of these, but stay tuned, since I got plenty of more videos in the works. But hey, if you're still here, first of all, thank you very much for watching. And of course, have a great day, 'cause you deserve it. Bye-bye.